Welcome to The Parts of Us, where you'll discover the system of inner parts that are running your life. You'll learn to calm the inner noise and bring healing to the parts causing conflict and confusion. So if you're ready for clarity, real choice, and radical self-acceptance, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Claire Humphries, and I want to make sure you are supported in your journey. So be sure to follow now and get your free guide at the end of the episode. I'm very excited to welcome you to our very first episode, where we'll start to explore what parts work is and why it's such a powerful tool for understanding ourselves. I'll share some types of parts work and introduce you to a few of the most common parts, and I'll also share how you can start to recognize these parts in yourself. So grab yourself a journal and pen if you fancy, get yourself comfortable, and let's get started. So have you ever felt like a part of you wanted to do something like start a new project or make changes or a big decision, but another part of you felt scared or doubtful or resistant? Maybe you couldn't make a decision and ended up confused with all the noise going on in your head, like there was a whole debate team in there. If so, then you've already encountered, probably unknowingly, some of your parts. So what is parts work? Well, at its core, parts work is the idea that we're not just one single personality. We have different parts within us, and they each have their own thoughts, feelings, and roles. Imagine your mind like a team or a family full of different personalities. Some are confident or ambitious, while others might be cautious or protective. Some parts carry old wounds, while others are playful and light-hearted. This idea isn't new. In fact, it shows up in various psychological, spiritual, and other traditions. You might possibly have heard of some of these, like shadow work based on Carl Jung's psychology, which helps us to uncover the hidden or repressed aspects of our psyche. Internal family systems, or IFS. This is founded by Dr. Richard Schwartz, which is one of the most well-known approaches to working with parts. And voice dialogue, created by Drs. Hal and Sidra Stone. In short, you're not one single you, you're a system of parts, and they all have something important to say. Parts work is a term that describes the ways that we work with these parts of us to create healing and wholeness. Why does this matter? Why should we care about understanding our parts? Well, often our parts are trying to help us, but the ways we experience that can be painful and confusing, leaving us stressed, depressed, stuck, full of self-hatred. Think of the harsh inner voice criticizing or doubting, destroying your self-confidence and picking up on your most sensitive issues. We often think that this is us. And perhaps you felt like no matter how hard you try, something inside of you holds you back, sabotaging your efforts and stopping you from reaching your goals. Or perhaps you've experienced getting into similar toxic relationships or relating patterns over and over, feeling out of control no matter how hard you try. These are all experiences where your parts are communicating with you and trying to protect you, but often we don't recognize them for what they are. Instead, we try to ignore them or control them and end up feeling out of control. The beauty of parts work is that it helps us to move from inner conflict and confusion to inner harmony and peace. Instead of letting different parts of us battle for control, we can listen to them, understand them, and create healing and real choice, often for the first time. So let's talk about some of the most common types of parts. You might recognize some of these in yourself. There's the inner critic. This part judges and criticizes you. Some of its favorite sentences start with, "You're too," and fill in the blank, ugly or stupid or fat or thin. Or you're not smart enough, rich enough, good looking enough. And there's the protector. This is a part that steps in to protect you from pain, often by keeping you small and avoiding risks or shutting down emotions. There's the wounded child. This is a younger, more vulnerable part of you that carries past hurts, fears, and unmet needs. and a part known as the achiever or the pusher. And this pushes you to be successful, drives you to work hard and reach your goals, whether that's in work or play, and it's often at the cost of rest and self-care. And the free spirit part. This is a part that loves fun and freedom, adventure and creativity. Sometimes it can get overshadowed by more serious or responsible parts. So take a moment to consider if any of these parts resonate with you. So each of these parts has a role in your life, all of the parts, not just these ones, and they try to help us in some way, even though it might not always feel like it. Even the ones that seem critical or limiting are actually trying to help you in their own way. And the goal of parts work isn't to get rid of any parts, it's to get to know the parts and to integrate them. So parts work can help us to understand more about these parts and what they're trying to do for us and the reasons why. So in order to do this, we need to start to recognize these parts and become familiar with them. So now that we know what parts work is and why it matters, how do we actually start to get to know our parts? Well, there are many ways, but to get you started, I would suggest that you could start by noticing, this is one way, to notice the qualities that you have. So the ways you might describe yourself in a job interview or a dating app. What would you want people to know about you? What would you like them to think of you? You can jot down or think of 3 words and then get curious about when you tend to be in that behaviour and see if you notice any patterns around it. And you might ask yourself what the advantages and the disadvantages are of that behaviour. For example, I might think of myself as a really kind person. So when I'm with people, I'm really friendly and nice. I might notice that I'm particularly like that when I'm at work. And that can be really useful because it helps me to make friends and means that I'm popular. But it can also be really hard because it's difficult to say no to people. And that can end up being really exhausting. So this would tell me that I've got a really strong pleasing part. So see what qualities you have and do share in the comments. I'd love to hear what parts you discover and any takeaways from today's episode. And if you get stuck, please do ask questions there too. There's no stupid questions. They're all really, really welcome. And in fact, your questions may inspire future episodes because I'd love to help you with, what's really needed. So some final thoughts to wrap up today's episode. We all have different parts within us, and that's completely normal. Every single person has parts. Our parts are not the enemy. They are trying to help, even if their methods aren't always ideal. And by learning to listen to and work with our parts, we can reduce inner conflict and feel more at peace. Future episodes will explore different types of parts work and individual parts in more depth, as well as learning how parts work can help to improve relationships, anxiety, depression, health, help to heal from trauma and addictive behaviours, create self-compassion and inner peace so that you can live the life that you really want to live. So if you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, do click the follow button and do share it with somebody else that might find it helpful. Your support and your questions really bring me so much joy. So comment and leave any thoughts that come up. And don't forget that you've got a free download. You'll find the link in the notes. So thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, be kind to yourself and all of your parts. This podcast is brought to you by Finding the Joy Trauma-Informed Parts Work Coaching, designed to take you from anxiety to authentically unlimited. You can book a free consultation and find other great resources to support you on your journey at findingthejoy.co.uk.